Good morning everyone. This is Kamikawa Kaolin. Koreans lie. Chinese people were still better. Is the word of an old lady who lived on the pre-war peninsula. In South Korea, similar to China, for the benefit of our nation, our people, and our family for a long time. There is an ethical view that allows falsehood, distortion, and fabrication. Indeed, South Korea did not feel guilty, withdrew its previous words, and lied to lies. To win, lies, forgery, fraud, tears, tells, threats, blackmail, takeovers, and so on. Just like a yakuza develop a victim business, using all means, and, this is justice in Korea, I can't trust what Korea does. Anti-Korean sentiment towards South Korea is spreading worldwide. In Asia, anti-Korean sentiment is rising rapidly in Mongolia. The first reason is that South Korea is an extremely racist country. Former Yokozuna Asashoryu once cursed a Korean reporter as kimchi bastard. This is when Asashoryu stops the Yokozuna despite repeatedly saying, there was no discrimination from the Japanese. This is because I repeatedly and persistently asked, is there discrimination? Because there is discrimination against Mongolia in South Korea, I guess it was a question in Japan as well. If Asashoryu is here, if you make a statement that you can defend yourself, maybe there was discrimination. Japan discriminates against Mongolians, he made up a forged article. Like when he was a comfort woman, he would have made a fuss about, Mongolians were treated like slaves. It is their way to pass on what they were always doing to the Japanese. By the way, the reporter who asked this question is a Korean reporter belonging to Nikkei Sports. And the second reason why Koreans are hated in Mongolia is more than 70% of Korean men visiting Mongolia are aiming for sex trips. In Mongolia, there is a Korean-owned karaoke bar for prostitution. Only 50 cases have been confirmed, which is a serious problem. The Mongolian government has tightened the prostitution control law to crack down on sex trips by Koreans. The activity of the karaoke bar for prostitution run by Koreans cannot be reduced. Prostitution at equestrian clubs and massage shops is also increasing to escape crackdowns. When you get off the airport, you can see them going straight to the prostitution riding club. Mongolians have strong anti-Korean sentiment due to the illegal acts of Koreans. At the end of 2005, an organization called the Dayar Mongolian Movement, Pan-Mongol Movement, raids Chinese and Korean supermarkets and hotels. Harassment and intimidation of Chinese and Koreans. It happened individually, but it was a new phenomenon as a group. Until now, several far-right groups such as the Dayar Mongolian Movement we are appealing for the exclusion of Chinese and Korean culture and residents. There is a wide range of supporters of their claim. For example, they don't let ads and billboards use characters like kanji or hangul. If found, remove the sign and declare that the store will be destroyed. Ulaanbaatar used to be full of kanji and hangul notations, it's almost non-existent now. The shopkeepers voluntarily repainted the signboard to avoid attacks, that is socially acceptable. Supporting the Mongolian economy is remittances from migrant workers abroad. Including remittances from unofficial routes, it is estimated that more than 10% of Mongolia's GDP is remittances from migrant workers. The largest migrant destination for Mongolians is South Korea. As of 2007, there are 25,000 Mongolians living in South Korea according to official statistics. This is about 1% of Mongolia's total population. Since half of the country's total population is under 20 and over 60, South Korea is home to 2% of Mongolia's working population. However, about 40% of Mongolians working in South Korea work without a formal employment contract. Therefore, it may be worked under poor conditions. There may be no compensation for injuries or fatal accidents during work. Such cases have been tragically reported in Mongolian newspapers. What is the forced recruitment work? 75 years ago when South Korea criticized Japan. Isn't it what our Koreans are doing right now? In addition, South Korea operates in Mongolia, from large companies to micro-enterprise companies. Statistics at the end of 2005 show that non-travelers there are more than 2,000 Koreans staying in Mongolia for a long time. This is about 7 times as much as the Japanese who have stayed in Mongolia for a long time. Far-right groups such as the Daear and Mongolian movements are excluding South Korea in addition to China. There is a rapid expansion and deepening of relations between South Korea and Mongolia. Many people have negotiations with South Korea as a personal experience through migrant workers. Isn't the racist treatment received there arousing anti-Korean sentiment? Because the influence of Korean economy and culture is great, the nationalist reaction of the Mongolians is sharpening. In addition, Korean gangsters are widespread in Mongolia. Employment scams using the Korean wave, scams that trick money into building condominiums, and so on. For that reason, South Korea is the second most disliked country in Mongolia in the polls. The first place is China, as you can imagine. The U.S. State Department has announced that since the spring of 2010, xenophobic assaults on foreigners are on the rise. In Mongolia I am issuing travel information with. Also, the U.S. State Department website says, these nationalist groups are often misunderstands Asian Americans as Chinese or Korean and suddenly attacks them. I am calling attention. At the Asian Games held in South Korea in 2014, in addition to allegations of fraud in boxing, boys who judged Koreans to win Mongolia as described as Mongolia China, on the official blog of the tournament, saying that there was a terrible response to the Mongolian players. It is also reported that feelings towards South Korea are getting worse. The Korean embassy in Mongolia, the line of sight to South Korea is getting stricter. There is concern about rising anti-Korean sentiment. Avoid discussions with Mongolians about the Asian Games as much as possible. The homepage is posted with a sentence that calls attention to. In comparison, Mongolia is extremely pro-Japanese in Japan. In the event of the Great East Japan earthquake, all Mongolian government officials donated one day's salary as a donation. Japan's assistance in Mongolia's departure from communism. Since then, it has been widely reported that Japan's ODA has led to economic development. Many people are indebted to Japan. Also, in recent years, wrestlers from Mongolia have been active in Japan. It is one of the factors that make Mongolian people feel close to Japan. Looking at the relationship with Japan in this way, it is clear that Japan has earned the deep trust of neighboring countries other than South Korea. There is still a scandal in South Korea. Do you know the word, Karakoria? Kiribati is an island country just below the equator of the Pacific Ocean. As the number of Koreans residing in the country called Kiribati increases, many Koreans have had unhealthy sexual intercourse. A Korean man took a local woman behind the deck of his ship in a dim breakwater. I have a sexual relationship in exchange for money. For this reason, the person who is sexually disturbed in the shadow of the breakwater, etc. It is said that it came to be called Karakoria. The expression, a guy like Korea, it is said to be used as the toughest swear word in Kiribati. The act of these Koreans' prostitution of Kiribati women, especially young girls, the more the countermeasures meeting is held in the Kiribati parliament, the more it has become a social problem. Korean sailors serve 30 to 50 predominantly young girls in Kiribati. After being reported by Korea Herald 2003, Kiribati government bans Korean vessels from berthing. Korean sailor Kiribati youth prostitution issue will be announced at an international conference in 2004. However, in February 2007, the National Youth Commission announced that the crew of Korean pelagic fishing boats are still prostituted underage for Kiribati girls, was announced. It is said that many girls have poor homes and prostitution is carried out with only a small amount of money. Also, for children born between Korean sailors and local women, the need for support measures has also been pointed out. In this way, even in modern times, Koreans violate the human rights of women. The problem of running away without taking any responsibility for the born child is Lai Dai Han in Vietnam, Capino in the Philippines, Karakoria in Kiribati has caused the problem, and nothing has been solved. Similar social problems have arisen in Thailand, Mongolia, and so on. Koreans are victims of sexual slavery of comfort women in Japan. Looking back on history, they are the ones who persecuted the human rights of women and did not reflect on anything. He is the one who has exacerbated the problem without taking any responsibility. Koreans lie. Chinese people were still better, is the word of an old lady who lived on the pre-war peninsula. The Japanese, and people all over the world, should never forget this word. Don't be fooled by Korean lies. That's all.